Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 233, January 2026. Fertility predictions for 2026. Science will not save fertility. Preservation of nature will. Hello, 2026. So, what is going on for the future of conception, pregnancy, and healing through loss? Are you open to your instincts from conception into motherhood? What is next for the future of your babies? What do spirit babies have to say about birthing their own existence, communication, and this earth realm? Can I say happy 2026? I feel like I don't know what it is about the New Year's, but as soon as we're done with the first few days, I feel like we're moving on, aren't we? I think many people must feel that way. Like, where are we at? Or maybe you have goals. Maybe you have your intentional phrase, your power word for the year. Maybe you're journaling, maybe you're fasting, maybe you're detoxing, maybe you're feeling like a new sense of reboot that you can do something. I don't want to judge what you want to do. I think everything is beautiful in one's own timing of opening to the healing qualities of what we offer in body, mind, and spirit, right? And yeah, I'm not one for going, okay, like what's my New Year's resolutions? Like it feels like a lot of pressure for me personally, and I tend to create resolutions or ideas or intentional kind of healings when they come to me, when it seems fitting, maybe more seasonal, when I'm feeling maybe the changing of the sunlight into the darkness, the cooler weather, the autumn weather moving into summer, spring weather. I feel like for me, those feel really nice spaces of intentional connections in that healing space for what I need, for what supports me. And so if you have a list of things and maybe your intention is to get pregnant in 2026 or to birth in 2026, to add to your family in 2026. I think everything is through your intuition, through what you hear the callings of your baby being into your life, into your heart, into your partnership, into with the siblings, if there's more. So really just looking at that connection and who you are and what's happening and letting it unfold. And, you know, I'm going to share I'm going to share some insightful, curious questions or thoughts that people have shared with me, and they want me to share it on Spirit Baby Radio, as I've from time to time will ask if anybody has questions or things that I can answer in a more deeper way from really my perspective of in this field, in this energetic vortex, I can say, for very many years. And it's really filtering through into the way that I hear and listen to energy. And everyone's going to filter and hear energy and have a different frequency and tone to your own beingness. And so it's filtering through that space. I almost don't feel like there's one set rule to things. And I think the word prediction is a very tricky word, right? Psychic prediction. What are the predictions? What is it going to look like? And yeah, what is going to happen? And many of you may feel over the every single year we move into, there's just deeper shit happening, right? There's deeper um, realities coming together in certain ways. And I even know for myself, as I've moved from different states and just really listening to the ley lines and the energetic spaces in the earth here, and even in the multidimensional spaces, because maybe you are in a city where it feels like what's happening in cities, there are portals and energies and We can even call them fires of light that are in the frequencies just spread throughout the globe. And maybe you feel a resonance with that. Maybe you have no idea even what that means, right? And I feel like we're in a time where there are frequencies opening up to some people, and especially the children, that are meant to me, in a way, is unlock, decode, and create a new energetic frequency in that space to change humanity's violence, to change humanity's ignorance, to change humanity's egotistical war mindset, money, and all those things that are, in disharmony, that there are other signals and frequencies that are put into place. And people are the keys to that. People are the keys to that. And that is where the power comes from. And your remembrance of who you are, what is your mission, and who you came to be. And even for your baby beings, your children, they're not just here for your own selfish reasons. They're not here just to laugh and be silly with you as a part of it. And they're here for the lineage, they're here for the healing. They're here because they, as you have yourself, called yourself into this existence. And that's something nobody talks about. Why? Because the ego and the mind tell us certain things and create rules. And I don't know, it's not in a book, Kelly. There's no book that says this. Where's this book? And I want you to remember you are the book. All the information that you think you need from some other reality, some other existence, some other thought space is actually a part of you. And I encourage you to explore those inner curiosities, those wisdoms, those maybe non-seemingly don't even feel like wisdoms, but just thought space of what you're here energetically to be a part of. And so what are we seeing for 2026? And can we actually really predict, or I like to say maybe even derail the poor agendas, or are we really healing humanity in deeper ways, right? These are the deeper questions that we all have. And sometimes there are things that are set in some, we can call it hmm, a psychic database. Maybe that's not a good term. A database. I would say a psychic energy can unlock that database. And maybe there's predictability lines, we can say, that are leading into certain directions. But even though there can be predictability lines, it doesn't mean they can't change either. There's some things that are really hard in those lines that will not change. And I'm going to kind of tune in a little bit and see what even am I allowed to share? I mean, that's a big thing too. I feel like when I am sitting in my own insights and unwindings of what's given and shown to me through my higher self's own ability to do that, nobody's giving me anything. There's no spirit guides, there's no angels telling me to do anything. There's no Jesus, there's no one in between my allness, is what I want to say. And it is filtered through the human consciousness of me. And if you want to use all those in betweens, you can. And I often think that maybe our spirit guides are just us in the future. Who knows, right? This is the thing. Or maybe the spirit guides are people that are here with us, that are in life, energetically supporting and connecting with us through the in-betweens, through the very present spaces of this mystery, right? So I'm going to again come through this energy in the allness and the purity as much as I can. And conception energy, fertility. Science is going to experiment more on fertility, and they're going to take more chances and risks because they want to believe that they can make things better. And sometimes they're going to make things worse and highly traumatic, especially within fertility, because fertility is not like getting an operation, or that it's just, you're, getting some life-saving medication or a pig heart or whatever. It's so much more when we're in the world of fertility because you are interacting with more than just a biological organism. You're interacting with two light spirits the mother and the child, and the merging of that is very powerful. Not to minimize the connection of sperm or another being there, but that in this reality, at this time, the natured womb is constructed into the nature of life. And I say now because there are other timelines and future realities that conception won't be synthetic and robotized. I believe it's going to be more of nature and connecting with the earth. And I'm not going to give you more than that because I think it's going to bring up a lot of thinking and a lot of uncertainty and just coming back to nature is everything in this conception space. This is why what came is the preservation of nature. Are we preserving the nature of conception or are we creating desperation and need and obsession with the body? And I can't tell you who you are. Only you can in your own consciousness and your own reality. And I hope you're doing it with the greatest of love. Because remember, especially women, I feel like mothers can be so self-saboteur and so overgiving. You want to really take the ease, the internal love, the comfort of your own unwinding into your system in a way where you do feel safe and grounded in your body to feel the preservation of nature. And I'm not anti-intervention, and I get quiet because I have to think about when I'm saying that. I'm selectively intervention, I believe, is great, but as we know around the world, especially in more developed cultures, there's too much intervention. And sometimes people need to do intervention to see a result that can be traumatic or even life-threatening or death. It does happen, it's true. And it's hard. It's a hard experience to be around, a lesson to take inward. Obviously, if you're dead, you're not taking in that lesson in the way maybe that you thought would happen, right? Science can be very powerful and persuasive and there's a lot of different ideas. And we're going to see different and new realities. I see like three major things coming in that is going to think that they're saving fertility by creating more intervention. And here's a better way to harvest. Here's a better way to inject. Here's a better way to create the odds of embryos. And we have to be really careful about that because there's these biological vessels, right, that are created, but where do they go? Who takes them if nobody wants them, or if they're discarded, or if they're old, or if they're just not working? Because for many different reasons, maybe the clinics don't even know what they're doing. So they're creating poor outcomes, which people don't question. Why would you question that? Because we want to believe that everybody has all those answers in those environments, but they always don't. And this is where I personally would sit in deep energetic meditation, even honestly, is what's it called? Maybe no, I don't know if anyone's ever thought about this. Maybe I should find someone to interview about it. I don't know if somebody would do it. Is what do you call it? Not teleportation. Um, kind of looking, going into the clinics energetically, psychically, going in, walking through into the facilities, looking through the vials and the numbers or however it's set up, and really seeing what's happening. Remote viewing is the word. Remote viewing is very, very common. A lot of military, and they're using a lot of remote viewing in a lot of secret societies, and it makes me nervous because there, are very good remote viewers that can do things, men and women. And they do have just really deeper other levels of abilities, not always positive and good, like light beings, also negative, low frequency, dark beings too. And So it's a little tricky, but remote viewing, like what if you were to remote view? Can you do that? Is it in your consciousness? It is in your psychic space to go, and do you trust it? And what does that mean? Like what actually happens when embryos are made and there are positive and negative, connections to that. And so I question that in the future of the nonchalantness of, say that right, of just like, okay, I'm just gonna go do IVF without much thought because that's what everybody does when you're over, what is it now? Is it 35? Is it 40? And that's what you do. And so maybe I'll do that. And that's your own personal journey in that. But question those things. What happens? This is materials of your own body, oftentimes, unless you're getting, a donation of an embryo. But where does that even come from? What is that being's energy? Is it a positive frequency being? Is it a negative frequency being? Like that's something you may not know, and you may not have to know. Maybe your own frequency is attracting whatever you need to for the lessons of this life. So I do see that there's going to be more interventions. There's going to be some controversial things coming up, and every country has their own rules around that. And America's very sloppy. They don't have a lot of rules here, and I think that's why people want to come to America to conceive. And my biggest example is Octomom, even though back then that was when there was really not many fertility clinic rules. But even 10 years ago, I remember questioning that there was no rules in America. There was no board of facility, like anybody can open up a fertility clinic. And I'm not joking. This is like seriously, like was a real thing. And I don't know if that's changed over a decade. But I thought that was really fascinating when I learned that 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, like we just assume that everybody is a medical credentialed, biologists and scientists in a way of working with fertility. So do your research, of course. Listen to your energy if you are going into intervention, but really question that too. That to me feels really valuable to see what is the future. What are we creating? Because if we're creating babies more synthetically, and there's a syntheticness to it, they're real embryos and real babies, but what are we doing overall? What does that mean for their being? Like do we not naturally conceive anymore? Is it that hard to naturally conceive? I don't know. I think with social media and technology, and the world was never this busy. We were never this expanded. We were never this big. So we don't have much to measure from. And I often wonder, people will say, well, maybe infertility didn't really exist. It always existed. Of course, it existed because there's always different energetic realities within people's bodies, within spirit baby energies. I do think it has always existed. But it's, again, I know some of you may feel like, oh, this is very activating and maybe even threatening. And that's your own perception, interpretation. But we want to create and preserve nature as much as possible. And again, I'm not anti, intervention, nor am I anti-IVF. I think it's under specific conditions, just like cesarean birth, specific conditions can be really incredible. And again, walking with a certain consciousness and energy to what's happening in there instead of it becoming the normal. I'm so tired of women being told that they'll be like, I'm 40 years old and that's why I'm getting IVF. Like that, what does that mean? That means nothing. Like a number of an age, 40. Imagine if I decided to go to the fertility doctor at 40 and they were like, oh, you should do IVF. And I'm like, okay. No, I was like, I'm 40 and let me try to get pregnant and see what happens. So I know it's easier like said than done for some of us that we don't think about it and it's like it just happens. But I also feel like, do you give your body a chance? Or is there intervening right away? And then what does your whole lifestyle look like? What is that connection? And what is the mind? We're told you can't, you can't, you can't. And it's really deep. It's like you can say, no, but that's not true, but it is because you believe it somewhere inside you and it creates that reality with you, right? And I want to even stop there and go into like the power we have of our own creative reality is so much more than what we even realize. And once you get really tuned into the energetic realities of who you are in daily life, and pull in and receive and open to new insights all the time, you are staying in that frequency level of where you're supposed to be, and you're opening to what the next layer is in that. And it's not a competition, it's not a need, but I don't know about you, but I like sitting in the dark starlights at night at times and just opening my energy to just whatever comes up. And sometimes there are profound things that move through me, and other times it's just quiet, gentle wind. And there's no judgment. I don't judge it, so I just open to it and show up. I show up because I feel grounded. I love myself, and those are the two massive ingredients on the journey of just who we're becoming. And so coming back to predictions, let's even go into babies. Hmm, yeah. Like what is I call it the newest fertility trends, trying to prove this is the way to do it. And what if it's like 100% wrong? Like, oh, everybody's eggs are bad. Remember that trend? Is everybody's eggs really that bad? That doesn't even make sense to me. And then I found out later, this was years ago, this was probably like 7 or 8 years ago. I started talking to more clinical integrative fertility doctor, and they're just like, you can't really test an egg quality unless you actually take the egg out of the body and test it. And I know a whole bunch of women that they were looked at, oh, how old are you? Oh, your eggs are bad. And they believed them. And there was actually one story where a woman shared with me, it came as a session space, who said she was told she had bad eggs and then had a transfer. And I don't know what happened next, but she found out later that her eggs weren't bad, but she already got an embryo adoption. It was so intense to hear this and so messy because she was told something that was wrong. And we're going to have a lot of wrong experiences on that fertility journey, especially if you're intervening, right? And then we're not even talking about miscarriage yet, because that's a whole other area of what we need in 2026 and what the energies are in that space as well. And I know we do know is that we have to keep going with the changes, right? The changes, always changes. And what other things? I don't feel like babies don't want to be born through nature and naturally, of course they do. This is happening around the world at every moment, every second. There's the nature of conception that comes through, and some quite miraculously, yes. Some a really honestly, the lineage shifting is a massive obstacle to the conception of infertility. And no matter how many doctors poke and prod and try to do their formulas, the lineage is not something you can give a pill to, an injection to, or feed it some kind of medicine. It's literally a lived life experience of your own healing. And it doesn't mean you have to do ancestral work. That you're already here in a human body. That means you're already doing ancestral work, is how I look at it. But you can go into more quiet spaces of your own internal undoing to free yourself for what you're in this creative space with, right? Coming back to the conversation of creativity, the creative force. And so you will continue to be inundated with this, persuasion, social media technologies, um, but the individuality and relationships you're creating is everything. And so letting yourself move into your own space within you and calling in the community that can uphold and care for you in these ways on this journey to see, okay, sometimes we have to go into quiet hibernation to see what is my next step? Who am I? What's unfolding? And it's not an overnight process. And that's something to sit with for sure. To sit with, to see things aren't always ready. right? We want to like make it right. It's got to be ready, but the readiness is very much a two-way connection. As we know, timing is everything. Divine timing, timing connection with what is coming into creative force in different times in different ways. So fertility, I don't feel like it's going to wean yet into like less, an inability to conceive. I think that if anything, there will be a boom coming up at some point where we're going to see more openings come. And there is a timeline for that. There is an opening where it's like, okay, babies are being poured in. If you can just imagine that for a moment, little light stars, little light realities coming, just kind of pouring in. And there is that, there is that connection. So there's even, we can see two worlds of energy. One, you stay in a denser world, or one, you go into a lighter, dense, free world. And again, that all comes back to you and your own quiet spaces and the undoings of your past, really. And I do feel like the mind is breaking. The mind has to break. People call maybe the ego, but the mind has to break more and really release that science doesn't have every single answer. And so oftentimes they do the best they can, we'll say. And old beliefs. How about that? We'll add that to a list here. Old beliefs. You have to surrender, move past old beliefs. You got to move on. Doctrinations. What is being held by persecution, war, old order? Like, bye bye, gotta go. Sorry. Easier said than done. Steeped in the energetic, literally internal structures of mountains and the earth. And people feel that. Like, we got to wake up, people. There's so much more happening than what we think and see with our eyes and have our own opinions from our family of origin. What are we being taught and persuaded into? You are the inner teacher of you. You don't need anyone to teach you how to be spiritual. Fear is exploding. Fear is exploding. Yeah, there's going to be explosions of fear coming and going, coming and going. Are you an empath? Are you a feeler? Are you sensitive? Then ground into the earth and do your job, do your bidding of being this feeler with great light and love. Speaking up. Are you speaking up about what your fertility is, what your pregnancy is? I didn't even touch into pregnancy and I want to. What does pregnancy and birth look like? Are you speaking up in all these areas? Are you taking control? Are you advocating for yourself? Because it's about you and your connection and awakening to motherhood through this fertility journey. Are you showing up fully? No censorships. Oh, that's a big one. Can you not censor yourself? You have no apologies for being who you are and for showing up as the beautiful being you are, even with fault, even with distortion. It doesn't matter because your light is stronger than anything, and your baby being is a light. So remember that and experience your true life. I feel like your experiential self is your true life. That really is your true data, or I like to say, is evidential empirical experiences, because your experiences tell you everything. And I'm tired of everybody feeling like, well, this is what the data says. The data is bullshit. The data, I entered the PhD program 18 years ago. I know it was 18. It was probably like I graduated the master's and I went right into the PhD for somatic psychology. So I would have been a doctor in psychology. And I did not want to do the statistics. And everybody's like, don't leave because the students were so awesome. And I was just not, I'm not an academic paper writer. I don't want to be. I was more poetic. And you know what? They don't like that in that environment. And I laughed because they were like, no, don't go. I remember. And I was like, I'm not doing the statistics thing. And I'm not doing this dissertation, defending the dissertation. And I felt like for me, it was like there's no such thing as 100% clear data without any obstruction. There's a no such thing because your body of energy alone influences outcomes, whether they end up in whatever direction, your own consciousness, your own multidimensional self. Nobody talks about that. But I do, and I see it because I feel like I see things from the inside out of another reality with just people and this world. And so your evidential empirical experiences to me are everything to what the journey of healing brings. And that's where conception exists. That's where the great intuitive pregnancy exists. That's where the great birthing experience exists. And that's where the greater part of motherhood into caring for your child or children exists. Everything comes down to that experience. And we hear it all the time. We hear it all the time, and we have to create it as we go sometimes. Not everything is predictable. We have to create as we go. And what a beautiful opportunity that is. If you were told that you got to follow like military style, you're going to wake up when you want to wake up, you're going to shit when I want you to shit, you're going to eat when I want, like what? Like that is not that does not feel like a good reality to me. And maybe there should even be a celebration that you are on this conception, pregnancy, birthing journey with great reverence as a portal, as an opening. And even if it's been a struggle, you know, where are the outcomes of that higher frequency that you're just welcoming inward? Ask yourself that, really sit with that. Pregnancy, a little bit of pregnancy. Pregnancy, there's a war in birthing and pregnancy. We're seeing it. We're seeing it all over the place. More conversations. We're seeing actual videos of women giving birth to their breech babies, to their home birth babies, to free birthing. I don't see that many hospital births, but I'm seeing a lot in these all around the world, just birthing happening. Like we actually get to see it happen. And I think that is powerful. Because many moons ago, like 20, 30 years ago, nobody was watching videos. It was very secretive and it was very censored. Now you open up an Instagram and you can literally see a woman's whole vagina with the baby coming out, like full on graphic. And it's like, wow, like it's such a deep energy is in that because that experience with that being sharing that with you, not just the intimate bits and parts, but the intimacy of a life coming into this reality, that energy, even of that baby, is offering you something, which is really fascinates me, right? So even if you're in a struggled conception space, I'd be like, watch all these women give birth, be around pregnancy, don't disrail from it. See what comes up in your own body in that connection. It's okay to be fearful. It's okay to be like excited. It's okay to not even know. And pregnancy, so I feel like it's evolving. Like we do see there's a lot more advocacy speaking up for certain groups that are, being treated poorly, that are dying. We're seeing that whether it's in birth or after birth, just improper care, improper care. And the fight is getting stronger. And I'm still kind of not vibing with the whole birth of what is everybody doing? It's everybody has an emergency and has to be induced. I'm not vibing with that. I'm wondering where in that energetic reality that's going to have to shift more, but it's still a very push because there's a capitalization of the fearing of women into that because of death. And the fear of death since 2020 has been very inundated into the consciousness of people because death is not, yes, death is quite traumatic and quite horrible, but also to sell death feels so devious and it feels evil. It feels like inappropriate because then you're creating this fearful person, a fearful mother, to have a child that's growing through fear. And then the child becomes fearful. It just perpetuates the energy of we're trying to release and surrender to our own whole-bodied selves to be in that higher space of love and to have fear, but not be run by fear. So everything begins at birth. What are we doing when we're birthing babies? Are we over intervening? Are we blood pricking? Are we giving them injections with metals in them? Are we cutting skins off of bodies that shouldn't be taken away? This foundational space has been so scary and disconnecting for so many mothers. And I see it all the time. I can tell in my session spaces who's really open to just let their babies be pure from the nature of earth versus doing all these different things, thinking, oh, that's okay. Everybody else does it. I'll just do these things. And I wanted you to challenge yourself. Are these things necessary? And what if the outcome is way greater without the distraction and all this intervention? It's just something to be with, to sit with, to see how that energy is. And I can tell with babies when they're born with a lot of intervention, they're like drunk. They're disconnected for quite some time. They're not fully here, and they can't be. They don't know how to be. And they're doing the best they can, and we have to have love and compassion for that as well. But I do feel like the new earth energy, with the newer humans, we want to bring in nature, the preservation of nature and birth even. Yeah, I'm talking about natural birthing. Yes. I think we've been so hidden about it, like so secretive about it. Like, no, it's okay. You do the epidural. No, it's not okay. Like, if you're going to do it, fine, you're going to have to do it and you're going to forgive yourself or heal through it. But I don't think we should be celebrating it and going, yeah, that's an option. You should do this. This is what it needs to be. Like, what? Like, where's the option of nature is beautiful and nature's on your side? Let's use your breath. Let's use movement. Let's listen to the biology of nature. And you have women around you that hold that space, and more comes from it. And I'm not talking about extremely, I'd love to say this, extremely rare birth events. There are extremely rare, but everybody nowadays seems like to have an emergency. Coming back to the conversations of fear already instilled when there's no emergencies at all. So, as I say, you know, I think we're on the up and up in that shifting. And again, there are still some dark realities in the birthing world. And I actually absolutely love free birthing. I love free birthing consciousness more. And it doesn't mean you have to free birth, but we have to open up that portal. It has to be open because there's so much of little baby beings coming in with such distortion, such disconnect, and that's not the future of the new earth. And we have to do better. We have to do our inner work. So I want to say free birth is, I remember over 15 years ago, the free birth, I knew a few unassisted birthers was what they called them. They were so secretive about it. There was so much secrecy, and it was really sad. And I felt very honored to be told in spaces of secrecy. And it was kind of like, wow. And now looking at it, I've had a few free birth conversations on Spirit Baby Radio. Now the consciousness is like, yeah, let's do this. And I think we need to celebrate that we can see that the birthing portal has shifted, even though there we can dip really dark into one other side. So the future really is in the hands of the mothers and the babies. And a little bit about birth loss, miscarriage, stillbirth. Yeah, they're going to keep happening. And maybe there'll be a time where they shift so deeply where they won't have to happen as much, or it's not a part of this reality. But there's such a dichotomy, that's not the word. There's such a division, maybe that's the word, duality, maybe that's the word, between two sides of energy right now. And even though miscarriage, it can feel quite tragic, very sad. And in that sadness, there's grief, there's healing, and we do in 2026, we don't want to minimize mothers going through birth loss, whether they're giving birth to their early gestational kind of maybe not much happening, or just fully giving birth to a child that's just not alive. And there's so much love that we need to share across all energies in that space and knowing what is coming from that, what is becoming of that even. And, what do spirit babies say about building? This I wanted to kind of touch into is building their own existence. Maybe you haven't really thought about that, but you have called yourself into being, not just you calling your mother and father calling you, but you called yourself into your own existence. And this is a really deep love responsibility I feel like we need to open to. Whether we're not even sure what that means, it's okay. You are in co-creation with all of life and reality. And there's something in that. I'm telling you, there's some deeper insight that you can be with if you want to go there in this conception struggle, if you're in a struggle, or if you're just kind of waking up to your own conception possibility. And communication, of course, spirit babies, the children of light, baby being 100%, 100%, 100% are in communication. They hear everything. You are connected. And I cannot say that enough over and over and over and over because it's so true. And you get to have that experience. And maybe you're not sure what that means. Sometimes booking a session with me can show you what that means. I've sat with many spirit babies over more than a decade of just conversations and connections. And it's been really such an honor, actually, to be of service in a way where I'm having that sense of allowance to go into that frequency to bring the connections and conversations in the before life. We see many mediums out there that do the afterlife. What about the before life? We're bringing it forward more and more. 2020 opened up a whole other level of spirit baby people and healers that didn't even know they could had that possibility. And maybe because some of them were probably like 10 years old. And some just they opened up their crown blessed it open and their heart opened up to this in between worlds of we can call the spirit baby realms and coming to the earth realms we can say. And the earth has different rules here. There's different things, but once we understand more our multidimensional self, man, you don't have to travel the world. You can travel the dimensions. And those that are tuning in, they're smiling because they're like, "Yep, I get what you mean." So spirit babies, what do they feel for 2026? That seems so general though, doesn't it? Because it's so collective. Like, is there a collective bundle of energy? I feel like there will be some more areas. This is interesting, actually. Wow. Okay. I feel like there'll be some areas where there's going to see more conception. And to me, it's not like, oh, they put something in the water or they're eating their carrots. I feel like it's going to be a portal of energy, like a fiery, interdimensional space where the earth is more open and those people are open to receive. Some by surprise, some who struggled, and some on purpose. That's so fascinating to me right now, actually. I never really thought about that. So I'm like live connecting right now, like really in this moment. So let's see. What else? I feel like babies want to wake people up more. They want to wake people up more and more and more, and that's through preconception, that's through pregnancy, that's through even birth loss, actually, because your child that's not here is still impacting the reality of Earth in different ways. And then they move into different levels. They don't always have to do that. But you may notice that, you may feel that, you may not be sure of that, but just be open to it if you're someone that experienced loss. And we can even add in there, even infancy loss, loss after life, it would be included in that space as well. So a lot of, I feel like when we're tapping into the spirit baby energy, it's so pure and loving to me. It's never dark, it's never contorted. It's just purity coming in between worlds. I feel like there's this infinite space we come through, and we come through almost like a door, not a doorway. How about like a waiting room? I'm gonna call it a waiting room. And in that waiting room, that's where the humanization becomes almost like, okay, you're gonna do your jumping jacks, grab your suitcase, you're gonna get ready to come into a body fully. Like, whoa, that's a really big deal. It really is. Like that. This is why I'm convinced that babies come in crying. They're like, oh shit, this feels. There's a lot of feelings here. And so there's this, this before space and in between the infinite, we can say it's here, it's ready. There's babies coming and going all the time. And keep, opening your hearts to 2026, feeling where your ground is, feeling where your own alignment, because that to me feels like the most important. Because predictive timelines can change. And maybe there's even a vagueness in some of the spaces because things change so much. But we have to keep watching where our thoughts are, what we're feeling, being instinctual, and letting your own spiritual, energetic self keep coming forward. Your soul self, your light-bodied self, your God self, your divine self, whatever you want to call this part of you that is all of you, that is like why you're even here in a body functioning and doing and being. And sometimes in the remembrance of that can really open up to what you're looking at needing next, right? And if you're, in a conception journey is usually involving two people. It's at least involving two biological realities of egg and sperm. So there's always a two energy in there. So it's never just really an isolated journey. Even if it's singleton, a single mother by choice journey, there's still another energy in there, even beyond baby. We're not talking about baby, but like partnership energy. So all of this really, I'm saying mother a lot, but it pertains to the whole kind of system and the whole connection of all beings involved. Now, I know I said a lot. I did want to go into these questions I call questions and curiosities. Somebody asked, why do spirit babies change genders between their first and second attempts of being born? I don't know, and I don't want to sound mean by answering this. Does it matter? So a spirit baby changes a gender and they're like, I'm going to become a boy. Oh, I want to be a girl and I don't want to come into that body because remember, we are making ourselves into being. We have our souls have choices. We are not victims of Earth school. We're really not, even though it can feel that way for sure, because the amnesia tells you so. But if you feel deeper down inside, you're, oh, there's something else in here, and we can unlock those and see more of the truth. So, why do spirit babies' genders change? And maybe somebody has a deeper answer for that, but I don't know if it really matters. They change, and there's something in that for them and you. So sorry, I can't answer anything really deeply longer and more involved, but I don't think it requires a lot of thinking. And sometimes you have to sit with like the not knowing of the details because the ego and the mind want us to shallow everything down into an earth term. And some things just don't deserve that, I feel like. Thank you for your question. The other question that came in is I lost my daughter to a stillbirth in July and have been told by two mediums that she's eager to come back in my next pregnancy, but that she's going to be a boy next time. Why would that be? Again, it's we're getting caught up in the need to know the emotional feelings we have. Like, well, why would you want to become a girl and then you change your mind and I have to go through a stillbirth, which is so intense, and my heart goes out to you. That is it's a life-changing experience for you to lose your child in that way in your body growing together for so many months. And are the mediums right? Do you think that they're right? Do you feel that way? Or do you feel that maybe you want them to come back, but maybe they're not? Or maybe, like, I shouldn't say not both of them, but I mean, maybe your daughter, maybe she lived the life she was supposed to live, and there she shares, that her brother to come through. And I can't fully answer that because I don't know the consciousness and the frequency of these other people that shared that with you. And maybe that's a part of your journey that you're meant to be in that specific vibrational space of self-discovery in that. And again, is it relevant? And I actually do feel like, and I know people struggle with this, but you sit and talk to your daughter and ask her and see what comes through. I promise you, if she has a really valid answer that she thinks you need to know, she's going to tell you. So see how that sits with you and see what can be and maybe discovered along the way. Thank you for your question. My next question here, I think I had this my final question. Yes. My question is about what happens when there's a spirit baby in your aura where each pregnancy has ended in early loss. How do you know if it's simply not meant to be in this lifetime? I know the reasons for why losses might happen, but can the soul contract end if the same spirit baby has made multiple incarnations and been active in someone else's aura for many years? Whew, that's a very, I don't know if that was a question or if it's a little bit of a statement at the end. So you've had a multiple loss, or maybe one early loss. And in the orc field, which is, I want to interpret this properly, the orc field can definitely hold many imprints. And it doesn't mean it's holding the imprint of the baby itself, but just the experience of the baby, which is a little different, right? And how do you know it's simply not meant to be in this lifetime? Well, you won't know, actually. We are bowing down to receive our children into the portal of our own hearts and our own bodies. And we do not have any control over that. And that is can be very scary. And that could be very like, whoa, very powerful, right? And you don't know. We don't know. And and if somebody says they know, they're lying to you because we have to open up our consciousness and energy to, again, the levels of mystery. And just to kind of see your other statement here, I know the reasons why losses might happen. Yeah, there's many different reasons. Whether, I wouldn't say biological, but biological to me is completely energetic, regardless. But the soul contract ends at the same time. See, we're getting into the soul contract, which is a very earth term. I know it's hard to find the right terms. Like, what is the right terms? Is there really a contract? What if this baby's energy and frequency liked your frequency and they came through, and then there was this energy of like, I've already done my part. I'm leaving. I'm separating. My frequency is different now. I'm not want to become a part of Earth. Not that they don't want to become a part of you, but they've got whatever they needed in that space. And then you have to then grow in that space with that loss, with that lack, with that missingness and see what becomes of you, right? And then you say here, multiple incarnations been active in someone. I don't know what someone else's aura is for many years. So maybe there's a relative you're talking about or a sibling. Babies can incarnate into family energies, friends. Some would even say neighbors. Some would say not at all. A lot of these studies around past lives and reincarnation, we see a lot of things that I've seen, a lot of data. They never go into the same families. We've seen that with stories. Like they go to like sometimes in the same country. There was a story, I think it's on what's it called? There's a documentary, and I talked about it a lot on my podcast here in 2019. And it was about death. It was all about different deaths. One was about like psychic and grief healing. There was a whole module on reincarnation, and a lot of the stories they went into, these stories weren't people that was in their family of energy. And I think we're going to have to unwind and really pick apart and tease that, like again, leaving it up into the open vessel of curiosity, because yeah, a lot of beings can incarnate many different times and ways, but I don't know if that's a problem. Again, I feel like we're minimizing it to this earth space. And again, there's no maybe final answers for that. There's just curiosity. And I think it's an amazing question and insight. And to keep seeing what unfolds in that space, keep up leveling and being in the openness of it. And I want to thank you also for your question. Now we are coming to the end. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this more deeper, longer podcast. Fertility predictions for 2026. Science will not save fertility, preservation of nature will. And thank you for joining episode 233. And don't forget to come check out ways to book private sessions, upcoming programs. Co-creation runs in the new year, 4 weeks. Get that energy going, healed, ready for the next level. Spirit Baby Communication, Spirit Baby as your Oracle cards are going to go on pre-sale, and come find them. Get your own deck for conception, pregnancy, and healing through loss. Keep staying connected to the next upcomings. Spirit Baby Academy for those that are in the Spirit Baby Intuitive that want to help others. February 2026 enrollment is beginning. The school is beginning, and you will be so happy you joined if that is a part of your calling, working with Spirit Baby energies. Also, don't forget, I have a Spirit Baby collective, which is now called Pregnancy into Motherhood, which is monthly membership. You get a live with me. You get a little bit of a one-on-one with your energy of the month. You get Spirit Baby messages. You get a meditation in our sweet group space, and you get weekly oracle messages and cards. And also, Motherhood to Mediumship is a free group through Mighty Networks. And come join that. It's free. If you've had birth loss, I want you to feel and connect with that community. It is like my own private Facebook, is what's the fun way of calling that. And come visit me on Instagram Live. I'm here for you. Read the book, Notes from a Spirit Baby Medium. Come check all these beautiful, loving things I have for you. And again, thank you so much for joining Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.